Now close your eyes, dear listener, and let yourself drift into a world of quiet wonders. Breathe in and out, deeply, slowly, as the weight of the day melts away. Imagine, if you will, the softest breeze brushing against your skin, carrying with it the faintest scent of aged stone and candle wax. Somewhere far off, a bell tolls. Its echo ripples through the evening air like a lullaby for the soul. You are safe here, wrapped in warmth and stillness, in the hush of an ancient place where time itself seems to sleep. And as your body sinks deeper into comfort, your mind begins to wander upward, to where the sky kisses the spires of a grand cathedral. Our story today begins high above the nave, where the stones dream and the gargoyles wait. Up here, the world is made of clouds and whispers. The stonemason, his hands rough from years of carving saints and sinners alike, has paused his work. Half finished, the gargoyle beside him yawns into the twilight, though its stony jaws frozen mid-snarl, or perhaps mid-laugh, no one knows for certain. The mason dozes, his head resting against the cool, rough surface of the tower. His dreams are soft things, of drifting among the bell towers, of riding the backs of winged lions, of tracing the hidden faces that peer down from the eaves. For you see, in the quiet corners of cathedrals, where only the birds and the sun may visit, the old artisans left secrets. A snail curled in the shadow of an archway, a dragon's tail coiled around a rain spout, a monk with wide, watchful eyes, forever gazing at the stars. They carved them not for kings or priests, but for the sky itself. When the wind sighs through the rafters, it carries the stories of those who carved these spires to the heavens, stories of daring and devotion, of love and loss, of hope and fear. The weathered faces of saints and gargoyles alike seem to writhe and twist in the flickering lamplight, their silent screams echoing through the empty nave. For this is a place of shadows and echoes, where the past is never truly gone, and the future has not yet begun. Only the pigeons know the secrets of the towers, their soft, gentle, cooing, a constant reminder of the beauty that can be found in the most unexpected places. And so we come to the end of our journey, not with a sigh or a prayer, but with a simple, whispered goodbye, as the last rays of sunlight fade from the stained glass windows. We are left in darkness, enveloped by the silence of centuries. But even in the darkness we can hear the faintest echo of a laugh, the whisper of wings, the soft, reassuring coo of a pigeon, and in that moment we know that we are not alone. For in the heart of every great city, there are whispers of magic to be found, if only we have the courage to listen. If you listen closely, you can hear the stones breathe. The cathedral settles its ribs of oak and spine of marble, sighing as the day fades. The scent of dust, of damp moss in the cracks, of the mason's long, cold bread wrapped in cloth, lingers in the air, and the bells, the bells. Their voices hum through the stones like a slow, sweet river, each toll a ripple pulling you deeper, deeper into the hush of twilight. Perhaps if you dream softly enough, you might hear the gargoyle murmur its true name, spoken only once in a language of wind and weathering. The whispering gargoyle. The half-carved gargoyle watches over the sleeping mason, its stony eyes half-lidded, as if it, too, is drifting into dreams. Its wings, still rough and unfinished, twitch in the evening breeze as though yearning to stretch. Some say gargoyles only wake when the bells stop ringing. Others whisper that they are the cathedral's silent guardians, standing watch over the secrets buried in its bones. But tonight the gargoyle does something strange. It sighs, slow, gravelly sound, like pebbles tumbling down a distant hillside. And if you listen, really listen, you might hear the words hidden inside. Remember. So the artisan sleeps, and as he dreams, he walks along the very highest ledge of the great cathedral, the tallest point that even the sun can't quite reach. And as he walks, his fingers brush against the cool stone, feeling the texture of it, the way it was carved by hands long since turned to dust. And what does he find? All along the ledge are these tiny carvings, secret and still. Here is a tiny fox, curled in the crook of the column, forever frozen in a yawn, its tail swishing lazily back and forth. There is a cluster of grapes so finely carved that you'd swear they glisten with morning dew. And just above the rose window, a single, solitary feather, etched by a hand long turned to dust. They were never meant for mortal eyes. No, these gifts were left for the wind, for the rain, for the silent gaze of the moon. What language do the stones speak in? Not one known to man, but a language of love, written in stone. For each design is a poem, each curve and whirl and twist an ode to the beauty of creation. And the mason knows this, or feels it deep within his bones, that he is part of something eternal, a song without beginning and without end. For here in the rough quarry, the feel of the cool stone beneath his fingers has taught him more than any master ever could. Here in the rough quarry, the pigeons roosting on the half-finished vault have sung to him of soaring heights and limitless skies. Here in the rough quarry, the wind has whispered tales of distant lands, of rolling hills and valleys deep. And in the hush of the evening, when the shadows grow long and the day's work is done, he listens to the river running over smooth stones, their pebbles worn and gray with age, and he hears them sing, too, of journeys taken and lessons learned, of loves both lost and found. For the river, like the mason, has traveled far, gathering stories like pebbles, smoothing rough edges until they gleam like polished glass. And in the depths of night, when the moon hangs heavy in the velvet sky, he looks up at the silent stars and whispers his own song into the vast eternity. A song of stone and sky and the endless grace of it all. Oh, the mason, he does not wake, not while the song remains, not while the river runs, not while the pigeons fly, not while the wind blows through the cathedral, carrying with it the scent of distant lands and the whisper of ages past. For the mason is part of something larger, something eternal, a song of creation written in stone. And we are the wind that carries the song, the rain that waters the stone, the sun that kisses the peaks, the moon that watches over all. And in the silence of our awe, we find the answer, the purpose, the reason we were drawn to this place, to this moment, to this song. We were meant to find this song. It was left for us, a gift from those who came before, a legacy for those who will come after. So let us stand here in the quiet, let us breathe in the stillness, let us listen to the song of the stones. For in the silence of our awe, we discover the poetry of creation, the language of love written in stone. Are you all right? I'm fine, just tired. Should get some rest. I can't. I have too much to do. Besides, where would you go? What would you do if you weren't here? There are always places to go, things to do, when one has nowhere else to be and nothing left to prove. You humans worry too much. Come with me. Let me show you how the night truly sings. No, I couldn't. I have work to do. As a gargoyle, all your responsibilities are to the stone and the silence within it. But I hear a song in the stone, a song older than this city, older than you and me both. It rises and falls with the tide of the moon, ebbs and flows with the heartbeat of the earth. You feel it too, don't you? Come on, let yourself hear it. Let yourself dance. Let me show you a secret. Where do you want to go? Close your eyes. Picture your most cherished memory, the warmest corner of your heart. Now open them. Here it is. Here we are. How did you know? Because I read your mind. Do you think I am just an ordinary gargoyle? I am many things, but ordinary is not one of them. I have walked with emperors and paupers, seen the rise and fall of empires, watched humanity claw its way from the slime of primordial ooze to slithering reptiles to lumbering apes to these hairless bipeds that build and destroy and dream and scheme and kill and love. I have watched it all, felt it all, and I am still here, perched on this rooftop, watching over you. You need rest, little one. Come with me. Let me show you the city asleep. Very well. Thank you. First, we must get past the Wather vein. He'll wake if we make a sound. She can't talk. Must remain silent until morning light. Or does your face grow pale? Are you afraid of the dark? Come now, let us pass. The shadows will protect us. They cannot hurt us. They are our allies. See, even the darkness has a purpose. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is evil. All things are necessary. All things are sacred. Everything is connected. Now, listen to the song of the city. Listen with your heart, with your soul. Ah, yes, isn't it beautiful? The entire city is alive. Streets are arteries pumping with dreams and schemes. Its buildings sigh and settle in their skins of night. Their windows gape like vacant sockets, staring into the infinite. And everywhere, human dreams drift up and mingle with the smoke and the stars. Oh, come now, let us join them. Let us become one with the night. Let us become invisible. Feel the cool stone beneath your hands, the rough texture of the mortar between your fingers. Feel the wind ruffle your hair. Taste the dampness of the night upon your lips. Smell the fragrance of honeysuckle and old magic upon the breeze. Hear the lullaby of the city. It rocks you to sleep. It cradles you forever. Here, lie down. Rest your head upon my wing. Sleep, little one. Sleep, the bell's lullaby dong. The deepest bell rings once, its voice rolling across the rooftops like a wave of honey. Dong, a second toll, softer now, as if the night itself is pulling the sound into its embrace. Dong. By the third, the mason's breath slows. The gargoyle's wings still. And even the hidden carvings seem to settle deeper into their nests of stone. Somewhere below, a candle gutters out, and the cathedral exhales, content. As midnight drapes its velvet cloak across the city below, a single shaft of moonlight slips through the stained glass, painting the sleeping mason in fractured hues of sapphire and gold. The unfinished gargoyle drinks in this celestial light, and for just a moment, it's just one impossible moment, its stony feathers seem to ripple. High above, the stars blink awake, one by one, each a tiny witness to this nightly ritual. The oldest among them remembers when these very stones were first laid, when the cathedral's foundations were whispered into place with mortar mixed with wine and psalm. And so the night unfolds, a symphony of shadows and starlight, with the gargoyle as its silent conductor, leading the city's dreams to the heavens. The mason dreams deeper now. In his dream, he walks through a forest of columns that stretch endlessly upward, their capitals blooming with stone foliage. The air smells of damp parchment and beeswax. Somewhere ahead, a choir of unseen voices hums a melody older than the cathedral itself, a song without beginning or end. As he reaches out to touch a pillar, his fingers meet not cold stone, but something warm, something alive. The column breathes beneath his palm, its rhythm slow and ancient. For you see, dear listener, stone remembers. It remembers the weight of glaciers, the kiss of rainwater, the press of a sculptor's loving hands. And as the mason stands there dreaming, the stone whispers its secrets to him. Secrets of a time before men walked upright, when the forest was young and the world was new. Secrets of a time when the very earth sang with the joy of creation, when the stars in the sky were young and the river ran backwards. So there are some pretty iconic horror movie villains out there, like Freddy Krueger and Hannibal Lecter. But have you ever thought about what those villains might have done if they were? I don't know, less focused on killing people and more focused on making them really, really uncomfortable. For example, here, as what would happen if Michael Myers from Halloween was less of a ruthless killer and more of an annoying little brother. You're sitting at home on Halloween night, you've got your costume on, you're ready to go trick-or-treating. Your mom says, "Michael, honey, I want you to have a good time tonight. But please be respectful to your neighbors and don't do anything bad." Then you hear a knock at the door. You look through the peephole and see a masked figure standing outside. You open the door and shout, "Trick or treat." And the figure says, "Trick or treat," grabs you by the collar and drags you outside. And then he pulls out a carving knife and starts making cuts on your pumpkin. But seriously though, that would be terrifying. What if instead of killing you, Michael just sat there carving your jack-o'-lantern while you helplessly look around for your dad with that menacing theme song playing in the background? Yeah, that would be way worse. Or how about Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th? Imagine if instead of being an unstoppable killing machine, he was just this big lug who was really bad at being stealthy. So you at Camp Crystal Lake trying to make a campfire with your friends when all of a sudden you hear some heavy footsteps in the forest. You turn around and see a hockey mask staring directly at you. You scream and run. He chases after you, but he trips over a tree root and falls face first into a lake. Do you run away? Well, probably not after you see that he has no legs. But wait, why does he have no legs? Why is he even at camp? Is he just doing some fishing? Or maybe he's looking for his mom? Oh, right. She drowned in that lake years ago. Well, that's sad. Maybe you should go talk to him. You slowly approach him and ask, "Can I help you?" He looks up and responds with a string of unintelligible gibberish. And then he takes off his mask and you realize he's just a little kid. You ask, "What are you doing here all by yourself?" He replies, "I'm looking for my mommy." And then he puts his mask back on and waddles away. Or perhaps you'd rather encounter Ghostface from the Scream franchise. Except what if he wasn't all about slashing people's throats and instead just really wanted to hang out? So you re-home alone watching horror movies because you in high school, and that's what you do for fun. Suddenly your phone rings and you pick it up. It's Ghostface asking you to participate in a series of deadly games if you want to stay alive. And then he hangs up. You think it's just a prank call, but then he calls back again. This time he asks if he can come over and watch a movie with you. Say sure, and he shows up at your door wearing a mask and holding a pair of scissors. You let him in, and you both settle down on the couch. Things are silent for a bit until you ask, "Do you want some popcorn?" He nods, and you head into the kitchen. When you come back, he's asleep. You shake him awake and ask, "Do you want to play a game instead?" And he says, "Sure." And then you win every single time. And he never even tries to stab you. But sometimes he does kind of give off that vibe. Well, those are just 3 of the many slasher villains, who would be less terrifying if they were just total jerks. 4 more slashers gone, good, bad. Check out the series link in the description. And I'll see you next time on another channel. My loves, welcome back to my channel where we share an assortment of dark and delicious things. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at some dream-stealing nightmares from Lovecraftian mythos. But before we get into that, please make sure to like this video and subscribe so you never miss out on any of our uploads. Our first story is The Cathedral's Breath by Ramsay Campbell. It was originally published in Weird Tales in 1974 and collected in Campbell's The Darkest Part of the Woods and Other Weird Stories. It features an unnamed narrator who is traveling through a nameless city. He's visiting the city because he has been invited to give a lecture. I guess this guy travels a lot. Anyway, as he walks the empty streets, he notices a cathedral off in the distance, and he decides to walk over there. When he gets closer, he can hear what sounds like sobbing. First, he thinks it might just be the wind. But as he approaches, he realizes it's coming from inside the church. He looks through a broken window and sees a lone figure inside. It's a young man kneeling in prayer. Our narrator assumes that the young man is praying for the soul of someone who died. That's why he's in the church alone at night and making those sorrowful noises. When the young man leaves, our narrator goes inside. There he finds a single candle lit, illuminating motes of dust dancing in the air. A chill wind blows through the shattered windows, stirring the young man's discarded cloak. It is clear that the young man was not the source of the wind or the chill. The entire place feels unnatural, unhealthy, and our narrator is suddenly filled with foreboding. He quickly leaves and finds lodging at a nearby inn, where he learns that the cathedral is an abandoned building that no one has entered it for years. But it wasn't always this way. It's back in the 1800s. It was a thriving church, filled with devoted worshippers. But then one Sunday, the priest read a passage from Leviticus about the abomination of having sexual relations with animals. And after reading this, many of the townspeople confessed to sleeping with their livestock. Apparently this was quite common back in the day. Sleeping with your cows, pigs, chickens. But that's not important right now. The point is, after these confessions, the entire congregation was excommunicated. The church was left vacant, and the town soon forgot it existed. And if you've been keeping track at home, you well know that our narrator did not see anyone else inside the church when he looked through the window. Yet there was a fire burning in the hearth, and the air was alive with the buzzing of insects. So our narrator decides to sneak into the church and investigate. He creeps through the building, avoiding piles of rubbish and crumbling tombs. He even avoids a rat that scuttles across the floor, probably because rats carry diseases, and it would ruin the vibe. He eventually makes his way to the vestry, which is a room usually used for storing church robes. Instead, he finds a pile of filth and a trowel. And when he picks it up, he realizes that it's covered with bone fragments. This trowel belongs to the man he saw earlier, the man who was praying to God and confessing his sins. And now that our narrator knows that, he runs away. He doesn't want to be in that church anymore. But the next morning, he finds himself drawn back to the cathedral. And this time he brings along a flashlight and a hammer. When he shines his light into the darkness, he sees a gaping hole in the wall. This must have been made recently, because the opening was too small for him to fit through the night before. Now that the hole has been made larger, our narrator crawls through and finds himself in a crypt beneath the church. Shining his light around, he sees rows upon rows of crypts, each one containing a skeleton. Something is strange about them. Their leg bones are far too big. As he continues to crawl further into the catacombs, he comes across a door that leads him back to the surface. And on the other side, waiting for him, is the man from the previous night. The two exchange a few words, and our narrator learns that his name is the same as his. And when he takes off his hood, our narrator realizes that his face is exactly the same as his. They're the same person. Well, not exactly. They are doppelgangers. When they switch places, the doppelganger tells our narrator that he's been here for a long time, longer than he can remember. For as long as he can remember, he's been trapped here, unable to leave. He begs our narrator to kill him with a hammer so he can finally be free. But our narrator refuses and says that he'll pray for him instead, and then he does. He prays for his doppelganger to be freed, and it works. The doppelganger disappears, and our narrator returns to his own body. He crawls out of the crypt and collapses on the grass. When he wakes up, he finds that the sun is shining and birds are singing. He watches as people stroll past the cathedral, completely unaware that it's hiding such dark secrets below its floorboards. Then he turns and walks away, leaving the dead behind. What do you think? Which character was your favorite? Did you find this story terrifying or just kind of sad? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this reading, I'd love to read more stories by Ramsay Campbell for you guys, so show your support so I know you approve. Now on to the next story. Our next tale is Dreams of the Red Dragon by Robert Bloch. It originally appeared in Weird Tales in 1937 and was later collected in Bloch's The Opener of the Way and Other Weird Stories. The story follows William Ellison, who is an antiquarian book dealer. One night, he's visited by his friend Albert, who shows him a book called De Monstrorum, which translates to Of Monsters. Albert tells William that he bought the book from a mysterious peddler, but he has no idea how old it actually is. He only knows that it arrived wrapped in a leather pouch, and when he opened it, he heard a scratching sound. But that couldn't possibly mean anything. After all, it's just an old book.
Right.
Well, apparently it's not. Because as soon as Albert opens it, he is attacked by a horrifying winged creature that claws its way out and flies away.
Right.
And to add insult to injury, it steals his sanity as well. Albert's friends try to convince him that he's just overworked and needs a vacation, but he knows what he saw. He also knows that he needs to get stronger so the demon doesn't come back and finish the job. So he begins to study alchemy and astrology. When he's ready, he goes to a bookseller named Malin, who specializes in rare texts. Malin tells Albert that he knows of a book that can help him fight the creature, but it's incredibly dangerous and could end up costing him his life. Still, Albert wants to do whatever it takes, so Malin directs him to the catacombs under Paris. There, Albert finds the Book of Abermalin. It's bound in human skin and protected by an iron clasp. As soon as he touches it, the demon appears behind him and tries to stop him from taking it. But Albert grabs the book and runs away. Back at home, he reads through the text and learns that the demon was sealed inside the book by a Jewish sage named Abraham the Jew, and in order to defeat it, Albert must perform certain rituals to gain power over it. He spends the next several months studying the text and strengthening his mind. Finally, he's ready to banish the creature once and for all, so he gathers his friends and performs the ritual. The friends chant as Albert speaks words of power. The demon grows weaker and weaker until finally it disappears and Albert is freed from its grasp. But sadly, his friends aren't so lucky. The ritual drained Albert's strength and they all passed away, and Albert was left alone. Once again, he kept the book hidden and lived out the rest of his days knowing that he had survived the greatest evil imaginable. Or maybe it was all just a dream. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out in the sequel. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, check out our Patreon page. We have some exclusive perks for our patrons, including early access to every video, blooper reels, and more. And if you want to listen to our podcast, you can follow the link in the description. Thank you again for watching, and take care. The Morning Ritual. Far below, the first baker fires his oven, sending tendrils of yeast and warmth curling up through the morning mist. The scent rises, until it tickles the mason's nose with memories of 100 dawns. His fingers twitch, still dreaming of marble and mallet. cathedral's great clock trembles, its ancient gears whispering secrets to each other. Click, whir, hush. In 5 minutes precisely, it will sing its bronze song across the waking city. But for now, there is only this perfect stillness, this breath held between night and day, this quiet moment before the world begins to spin. And in this stillness, the old baker feels something stir within him. A longing for the sunrise, a whisper of hope for a new day. He takes a deep breath, gathers his tools, and begins to knead the dough, his heart rising with the sun. The gargoyle's choice. Unfinished gargoyle feels the coming dawn in its limestone bones. Tonight was special. Tonight it almost moved. If the mason would just alter this curve here, ease that angle there, it would be perfect. It would be able to move, to walk among the mortals it was meant to protect. But no, the gargoyle knows its purpose. Its purpose is to frighten, to guard, to scream at the heavens and listen to the echoes of the gods. As the first golden ray crests the horizon, the creature makes its decision. It will remain as it is, half-formed, waiting, perfect. A single raindrop from last night's storm trembles at the corner of its stony mouth. But is it a raindrop or is it something more? Is it a tear? The mason's eyes flutter open to a world gilded in mourning. His tools lie where he left them, the chisel still cool in his palm, the mallet's handle worn smooth by generations of hands. For a heartbeat, he swears his gargoyle companion winks at him. Somewhere below, the choir begins their matins. The notes rise like smoke, curling around the pillars, kissing the hidden carvings only the birds know about. The mason stretches, his back popping like the timbers of the great roof. He thinks today he'll carve something special, not for the bishop, not for the guild, but for whoever needs to look up and wonder. He shifts, feeling the rough stone beneath his fingertips. It's time. He takes a deep breath, closes his eyes, and lets the chisel fall. Single drop of water splashes onto the stone, catching the light like a jewel. It's perfect, he thinks. Maybe today I'll carve a bird, or maybe a face. Maybe something that will make people stop and stare. Because when they do, he knows they're not just looking at stone. They're seeing a piece of themselves, a reflection of the world as it was, as it is, and as it will be. The birth of a smile. The mason's hands move differently today. Less calculation, more play. His mallet strikes softer, his chisel dances lighter. Where there was once a fearsome grimace, there now emerges a grin. Not monstrous, not holy, simply happy. The gargoyle's stony lips curl upward at the corners, its brow unfurrowing like a morning banner. The watching sparrows erupt into approving chatter. Somewhere deep in the cathedral's foundation, the oldest stone, a piece of the original quarry, shivers with recognition. It hasn't seen such joy since the day the first child laughed beneath these vaulted ceilings. From the book The Heart of a Tree by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Every day at noon, the old bell ringer would ring the bell for the Angelus. It was his duty, his life's work. One day he noticed something peculiar. As he stood there ringing the bell, he saw the gargoyle perched high above him on the tower. And it was then that he realized the gargoyle was grinning at him. He squinted upward, and the gargoyle remained motionless. So he continued his rounds, shaking his head and muttering to himself. But the image of the smiling gargoyle stuck in his mind. Was it mocking him? Had it always been there? He couldn't remember. He chuckled, a sound he hadn't made in years since his wife had passed away. The chuckle turned into a laugh, which turned into a cough. And soon he was wheezing so hard he had to sit down on a buttress. The gargoyle remained perched on the tower, its mission accomplished. As afternoon sunlight slants through the clear-story windows, something extraordinary happens. The newly smiling gargoyle begins to sing. Not with a voice, for stone has none, but with a presence. The rain droplets caught in its crevices hum as they evaporate. The pigeons coo in perfect thirds. Even the mason's abandoned tools vibrate slightly where they rest. It is a song without melody that makes the chest ache beautifully. The oldest stained glass, the deep blue fragments near the apse, thrums in sympathetic resonance. They remember being sand before they were art. The architect's ghost. If you were to squint just right as the bells toll 3 o'clock, You might glimpse a transparent figure walking the triforium gallery. The long-dead architect glides past each column, running spectral fingers over the stones with professional approval. At the sight of the smiling gargoyle, he pauses. The see-through mouth forms a perfect O. Then he winks at the sleeping mason below, before dissolving into a sunbeam. The cathedral has always been full of such ghosts. Most mean no harm. Some don't even know they're dead. But he, the architect, is different. He lingers here, in this place where light and shadow play eternal games on the floor, where dust motes dance in the sunbeams and the air is thick with the scent of old stone and memories. For him, this cathedral is not a tomb, but a home. And when the last visitor has left and the silence is almost deafening, that's when he feels most alive. The sun climbs higher, the shadows grow shorter. Still no sign of life in the gargoyle, yet something stirs within its stony breast. Perhaps it's the memory of a long-ago heartbeat. Perhaps it's the draft stirring the dust of ages. Or maybe it's just the wind. By mid-afternoon, the most miraculous visitors arrive. Bees. Not just any bees, but the fat golden ones from the monastery garden across town. They zigzag drunkenly upward, drawn by some pollen-less instinct to the grinning gargoyle. One bold explorer lands between the stony eyebrows. It cleans its front legs thoughtfully, then begins a peculiar dance. The other bees hover attentively. Below, the mason, now awake, but pretending not to be, watches through half-closed eyes as the swarm decides what to do, to build right there in the gargoyle's left ear, a wild honeycomb. The bees disappear into the rough-hewn stone, disappearing one by one until only a frantic buzzing remains. The mason smiles faintly and returns to his work, though his mind is far from the task at hand. He thinks of the gargoyle as a living creature, as a kind of bee in its own right, as a brother in stone. For what is a gargoyle if not a creature of habit? Just as the bees return each spring to the same dark recesses of the monastery eaves to raise their young, so too does the gargoyle return each year to this same perch atop the tower to greet the sun. Just as the bees are guided by instinct to gather in the eaves, so too was the gargoyle, guided by instinct to take this shape, to become a grotesque mockery of a human face, leering down the centuries with vacant eyes. And just as the bees transform the darkness of the eaves into something new, a golden honeycomb, so too has the gargoyle been transformed by the bees, now transformed in turn into a beehive. The mason feels a kinship with the gargoyle, a shared loneliness, a common fate. Both of them are cursed to spend their lives in solitude. Both of them are defined by an absence, the gargoyle of humanity, the mason of warmth, of love. He runs a finger over the cold stone, imagining the gargoyle as a brother in stone. Imagining a world in which he himself is a gargoyle, frozen for all time in an eternal present. A world without bees or birds or brothers or loneliness. By late afternoon, the air grows thick with the drone of insects. From within the gargoyle, the sound seems to rise like the lament of some vast, hairy monster. The mason shivers and pulls his cloak more tightly around him. He should go, but he doesn't want to leave the gargoyle to its fate. As the light fades, he can just make out the shapes of the bees, their bulk making little dents in the stone. He imagines them clawing their way into the gargoyle's ear, burrowing into its brain and taking up residence there where the silent echo of a scream reverberates through the ages. When the sun dips below the horizon, the gargoyle's grin seems to widen in the gathering darkness. The mason sees a pair of eyes gleaming from the depths of the hive, 2 points of malevolent intelligence regarding him, regarding the whole world. He breaks into a run, stumbling through the falling dusk toward the safety of the monastery walls. Inside, the brothers are gathered for evening prayer, their voices rising and falling in unison. The scent of beeswax and honey hangs heavy in the air. As the mason kneels beside his brothers, he can't help but glance at the gargoyle carved on the wall over the altar, at the golden gleam in its vacant eye sockets. When the prayer is done, he lingers, hoping to steal a moment of quiet in the near-empty chapel. The silence is shattered by a sudden crash. Startled, the mason whirls around. A single bee lies on the stone floor, its wings and legs as stiff and cold as the gargoyle's smile. The mason bends to pick it up, and as he does, another bee falls. then another, until the floor is covered with the bodies of bees, their golden forms like fallen stars on a winter night. In the sudden, awful quiet, the mason hears a voice behind him. "Did you bring them here?" he asks, his voice barely a whisper. The prior stands in the doorway, his face pale in the flickering candlelight. "I brought them here," the mason whispers back, holding up the dead bee. "Why?" The prior shakes his head, his eyes wide with fear. "Why?" the mason cries. "Why did you do this?" And as the prior remains silent, the mason understands. The gargoyle is not just a creature of habit. It's a tomb. The bishop's perplexity. When the very reverend bishop arrives for evening inspection, his polished shoes screech to a halt. His carefully trained face, usually so composed, twitches violently. "Why is that one smiling?" he asks the head mason. The old craftsman chews his lip. "Perhaps, your grace, because it's happy." The bishop opens his mouth, closes it. Opens it again, then miracle of miracles snorts. The sound echoes off the nave walls, startling a nesting swallow. The gargoyle's grin seems to widen infinitesimally. This is from a story I wrote for a writing exercise. I was trying to emulate the style of a classic author. How do you think it turned out? What do you want to see me write next? Let me know in the comments. As twilight paints the stones in violet and gold, the most magical thing occurs. The honey in the gargoyle's ear, warmed by the day's heat, releases golden rivulets that trace the carving's contours. The descending sun sets this amber nectar aflame, making it look like the statue is weeping liquid sunlight. A mason packing up his tools doesn't notice. The bees, heavy with their stolen sweetness, do. They buzz their approval before winging it home. Somewhere a monk's lute begins to play. The gargoyle keeps its secret vigil. Its smile now literally golden. The cathedral sighs contentedly. Tomorrow will come. Tonight is for resting. The moon's silver blessing. As the last crimson fades from the western windows, the moon, round and heavy as a communion host, rises to take its watch. Its light pours through the gargoyle's honey-filled ear, projecting a golden constellation across the north transept wall. The sleeping mason's tools glow faintly where they rest, his mallet humming with captured moonlight. High above, the bee's unfinished comb drips one final perfect drop onto the gargoyle's stony tongue. The taste of sunlight lingers in the night air, a secret between the stones and the stars. This is part 3 of a series. Each part is like a little poem, a meditation on the natural world. I love how the images in these are so vivid and the language is so precise and beautiful. It's almost like you can taste the moonlight and hear the stones humming. The dream weavers have come. It is midnight, and the gargoyle is smiling. These tiny translucent creatures who spin sleep from starlight and memories come dancing along the moonbeams to inspect this new source of joy. One bold sprite alights on the honeyed lips, and it tilts its glowing head. Then it begins weaving a most peculiar dream. A bishop laughing as he chases a swarm of bees, a stonemason floating among clouds shaped like chisels, and a cathedral where every gargoyle tells jokes in the voice of falling rain. The mason, sleeping below, begins to chuckle in his rest. The sound rises like warm bread through cold stone. Oh, how the gargoyles love to laugh. And with that, the dreamweavers finished their work for the night. They retreated back into the shadows, leaving behind only the faintest whisper of their song. And so the gargoyle fell silent, basking in the glow of the rising sun. But the memory of laughter lingered, echoing in the stillness like a half-forgotten dream. The stone's final confession? Just before dawn, when the world hangs between dreaming and waking, the cathedral's oldest stones finally speak. Their voices are the sound of continents shifting, of mountains being patient. They tell of how they were chosen, not for their strength, but for their ability to hold joy. The words vibrate up through the mason's boots where they rest beside his bedroll. They shimmer in the dewdrops collecting on his chisels. They echo in the hollow places of the smiling gargoyle's heart. And with this truth hanging in the air like incense, the stones return to their silent vigil. For centuries, they have stood as silent witnesses to the joys and sorrows of humanity. And now, they are sharing their wisdom with those who listen. The dawn's gentle farewell. As rose gold light creeps across the choir stalls, 3 miracles go unnoticed. The honey in the gargoyle's ear has crystallized into perfect hexagonal prisms that hum when the wind passes through. The mason awakens with a strange taste of sunlight on his tongue. Every pigeon on the roof has arranged itself into the shape of a smile. Cathedral exhales. And you, dear listener, may now rest. Let your dreams be light as carving dust, sweet as stolen honey, and as enduring as stone that remembers how to smile. And here ends our story. But if you, dear listener, wish for it to continue, then let me know in the comments below. What would you like to see in the next chapter? A new adventure? A thrilling mystery? A heartwarming romance? It's all up to you. And just remember, every story has its end, but the greatest stories live on in our hearts long after we finish reading them. So make sure to leave a comment below with your thoughts on the ending. Did it leave you satisfied or wanting more? And while you're at it, don't forget to follow for more enchanting tales.